Welcome to another exciting edition of our Domo Lunch and Learns, and we have another guest, Jace McLean. So excited for him to be here. He's going to be talking about Dataset Views, basic features, basics, and features, and use cases. I am, as always, your host, Eddie Small, Director of Community here at Domo, and still a little under the weather. So appreciate you being kind in the comments about all of the nasty pneumonia things that I've had to deal with over the last couple of weeks, but trying to get back in the swing of things and excited to welcome Jace to the live stream. But before we get to Jace, we have a few things we need to promote. We have coming up this week our very first community virtual meetup happening this year in 2023. A great opportunity for you to learn products, get solutions, network with users. Click the QR code. Ben Shine, Elliot Leonard, all of our friends in Domo land will be there. Over 500 people are registered for this event. You don't want to miss it. So if you are not registered, click the QR code and get registered for the community meetup. So that is happening. Make sure you register for that. We need you registered, and we need you to be a part of that exciting event, because you don't ever want to miss Ben Shine when you get him on camera for a little while. He might tell you some really cool stuff, as Jace knows. So, Jace, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for talking about some Dataset Views. We're excited to have you, and look forward to this session.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, as mentioned, my name is Jace McLean. I'm the Director of Data Insights here at Domo, and I'm part of our strategic architecture group. I do report to Ben, so I can confirm you don't want to miss Ben, so please tune in for that.
Yeah.
However, I am here to give you everything you ever wanted on a Valentine's Day. A talk about Dataset Views in Domo. Yes, addressing the heart in the room. It is indeed Valentine's Day, so I realize that some of you may view this later. See what I did there, Eddie? View this later?
Yeah,
I'm out of here. Jokes.
I'm out of here after
that. He's going to abandon me.
Yeah.
Seriously though, folks, I am here to walk you through our Dataset Views and present some ways that they may empower you in your job every day, be it as somebody who is solving a business problem, or somebody who is a major Domo or a power user who does nothing but construct ETLs all day. If you have any questions, please post them into the channel, whatever channel you're viewing this on, and Eddie can do his best to get those to me. Mini agenda for today: quick intro to views, just talk about some basic construction, some of the features of views, some of the use cases and patterns that we have seen and that our customers are using that are quite helpful. And then finally, some caveats or some things to know about our views. So the first thing, what is a dataset view in Domo? A dataset view is really just that, a view into a dataset or a set of datasets that have been joined together. And there's some basic functionality that's provided inside of views, not as much as the functionality that exists in an ETL, but there's some things in there that can help you out. Now I'd like to just demo really quickly how to create a basic view in the Domo UX. So Eddie, if you can, there we go, cool. So the easiest way, and the way that I most often create a view inside of Domo, is go ahead and view a data set. Now in this case, for this demo or for this live stream, I'm going to be using some NOAA data. So we're looking at some data, some weather data from around the world. This is about 70 million rows. I believe it's, I think I just have it 2016 and 2017 NOAA data in here. So quickest way to create a view, go to your data set, open with Views Explorer, and I have a view, right? And this view, I have not yet saved it. So it's not a view that I can, check out from your data sets or anything like that. It's just a temporary view. It's in memory. And so we can play around with it like that. Just click Save As if you want to go ahead and save it. You can, kind of name it up there as well. So Really quickly, there is the functionality of distributions. So if you want to click on this, and I'll show you this again later, you can click on here. We'll go ahead and analyze the the distributions of each of the columns, and we'll show that to you. Excuse me, right there. So here I have my view. Quite a few different columns, right? It's about 10 or 11 or something like that. I can go ahead and I can select which columns I want in the view. I can get rid of some. I can add a column. Really quickly, I'm going to do that. So in addition to adding a column, I can create a calculated field. So again, we have some of the functionality that you might have in an ETL or something similar to a beast mode editor in here, where I have different functions and things I can do. So really quickly, I'm going to call this, I'm just going to do lower observation type. So all I'm going to do is take the observation type that I had in my data set, make it lowercase, and add that called obs type. Go ahead and validate first. Looks good. Come back here into my view, and you can see that I've added a column. Again, some functionality that we have, not as much as in an ETL, but we do have some things in here where you can add columns or do some things like that. Now, earlier I mentioned that a dataset view is a view into a data set or into a set of data sets. So again, in here, we have the ability to bring in more than just one data set. I can union something or I can join something together. We're going to go ahead and join something in here. I'm going to choose this other data set. This other data set that I'm choosing has some information around the different weather stations that exist in the world. It has stuff like the station name, so it's something you might recognize, the country code, country name, state, things like that. When I join, I'm prompted to select which columns I want to bring into my view. I'm just going to grab them all. And that'll go ahead and run a join on those 70 million rows in there. While that's going on, just talk real quickly about some of the features of dataset views. So a dataset view, as I mentioned earlier, it's in memory only, meaning it's not materialized. It doesn't persist. The view is only available on demand. So when it's being used as an input to a data flow or something that's powering a card, or in this case, something that's powering my Views Explorer. So I now just joined two data sets together. Joined 70 million rows. I now have country codes, country names, states, things like that in here. Another thing you can do inside of a dataset view is you can take a look at aggregates. And so if I wanted to group something together, I could do something like take our station ID, our station name, we'll do country code, why not? And then observation type. And for our observation value, I want to go ahead and select maybe the minimum. And I'll bring observation value back again. And in this case, I'll grab the maximum. Hit finish. And so what this is going to do is it's going to take, for every unique combination of our station ID, station name, country code, and observation type, it's going to calculate the minimum value and the maximum value, and then bring that into the view, right? And so I'm allowed to do some kind of basic functionality, some basic calculations inside of a view, and then save that. And so this will just take a minute or so, and it should pop back up. Another feature of dataset views, I mentioned earlier, they are created or instantiated in real time. So oftentimes when customers have real-time use cases or something, we recommend that they use views. A view will always give you the latest view into the data that is powering it. It will run that query at the time that something like a card or something is rendered. So I've got back my aggregations here. I've gone from 70 million rows down to 180,000 pretty quickly. So I have this station, Benchlands, which is in, I didn't bring in country. Okay, so it's in Canada. And I have here my minimums and maximums for precipitation, snow, and whatever snow D is. Minimum, maximum for 2016 and 2017. So again, pretty basic. functionality that you can do inside of a view. You can calculate some fields, you can join multiple data sets together, you can union them, and you can create, aggregations and things like that. Now to talk about some of the use cases of views and some of the patterns that we see. One of the things that we see our customers do the most actually is use dataset views as inputs into data flows, right? And the reason is because a data flow or an ETL, magic ETL, will run much quicker if you can filter out some of the data being brought inside of it. And so to illustrate this, I've created a data flow, and we'll do this one. And this is a very, very basic data flow that I have here. I take in, my 70 million-ish rows of NOAA data. I filter only to the state of Minnesota, since that's where I am. Go Gophers. Text formatting, basically I just take the observation type, I make it all uppercase in this case. I do a quick absolute value on my observation value, so any negatives will be made into positive numbers, and then I output that, right? Very, very, very basic. Well, with the dataset view, I can basically do this first step right here very, very quickly. I mean, I technically could do most of it, but for the purpose of this, I'm just trying to show how much quicker a data flow can run with a view as an input, right? So if I take a view and I filter down to the state of Minnesota, this is going to run much quicker. So my data set input here to this data flow, I'm bringing in, again, roughly 70 million rows. It's just over 11 gigs of data. It outputs 1.1 million rows, 192.24 megabytes. If I view the details on this, I can see that the input is taking roughly 47 seconds, right? So it's taken roughly 47 seconds to load the data into Magic ETL. Okay. If I take a look at the same exact data flow, right, but just looking, bringing a view, right, that already filters down to the state of Minnesota, so it's doing the same exact text formatting, same exact formula, same exact output. You see that I have my same exact output, 1.1 million rows, 192.24 megabytes. And you can see that this runs in 15 seconds, right? So the entire data flow will run in less time than it takes for my other data flow to load all of those extra rows into Magic. And this is a pretty basic pattern, right? It's a simple filter or column selection. It doesn't have to be just reducing the number of rows. It's just about reducing the amount of data that gets loaded into Magic ETL. And so if you're dealing with something that we see all the time, customers may have kind of one massive data set that they have, 500, 1,000 columns, something like that. And they're running a data flow that really only makes use of, a dozen, 15, 20. If they just create a view that only selects those, 12, 15, 20 columns, it's going to load into Magic ETL much quicker as well. We've had customers experience, decreases in processing time from, hours down to, minutes, 10, 15 minutes from, 2, 3, 4 hours just by creating a data set view that serves as an input to a data flow. So that is the use case of inputs into data flows. Another common use case we see, and this is one that's near and dear to my heart because I use it all the time, is just around data exploration. So oftentimes you're confronted with taking a look at some new data set and you don't necessarily know what's in it, or you may suspect there's some problem with it. And again, I come to the data set, I open up or create a view, just a temporary view. This might be something I'll save it. Oftentimes it's something I don't save. And actually, looking at, usage, we actually do see a lot of customers are just creating views, looking at the data itself, and then not saving it, right? So they're doing a lot of data exploration or even data cleansing in a view, right? So I have my 70-ish million rows again. I can go ahead in a view very easily. When you're actually in the view, you can actually just right click on one cell. And again, it shows you, it highlights all the cells that are the same as the one that you're on. So let's say I want to filter only to this. So I filter only to the United States. Let's say I want to do Minnesota because that's where I am. So we're going to go ahead, filter only to Minnesota, right? So I'm from 70 million down to 1.1 million, right? And let's say I, don't want to look at precipitation. Why not? So I can filter to everything but precipitation. So it'll get rid of all precipitation. And then maybe let's say I only want to do, why not? Only January 1st, 2016. And so I've gone from 70 million rows down to 1100 in, I don't know, what was that, about a minute or so, 45 seconds. And a lot of our customers and myself kind of use this as like an Excel on steroids, right? So they want to be able to sift through large amounts of data and find something specific, in a tabular format very quickly. Use cases we see customers using this for often involves marketing or sales, creating some sort of distribution list, right? A distribution list to send some content to, or to, plan for in terms of your sales cycle. We see people, when I demo this to them, they're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe we never heard of this before. Like, this is something that we do every day, except we do it in Excel and we do it a lot slower. And so very quickly getting through data. Again, that's just the data exploration, data cleansing. Something seems wrong in the data. Again, coming back to this, my distributions, viewing that inside of our Views Explorer often helps me figure things out, like, okay, station ID, like the observation date. Well, it's January 1st, 2016. My observation types, 22% precipitation, 18% snow. It has this information in here. I can view, the values, the distributions of the values, and I can see, was there any, weird outliers or anything like that. And so doing, data cleansing in here, coming to figure out like, hey, something seems wrong with my data. This is generally where I come first to try to figure out what is wrong with my data. And so that, I think, is, again, another very powerful use case for Dataset Views inside of Domo. I'm gonna click off that. Another place we have our Dataset Views integrated with the rest of the platform is inside of Analyzer, right? And so here we are. I'm going to go ahead and edit a card. I have precipitation, just taking a look at precipitation, for the entire, again, 70 million row data set, quarter by quarter. And you can see, again, yep, this is 2016, 2017 data. That's quite a lot of precipitation. If I click over here on the data tab, I have what is basically a data set view, right? And if I want to, I can go ahead and do, kind of the similar stuff that I did before, where if I wanted to say, I only want to look at Watertown. Hey, that's in Minnesota. Filter to only that, right? So now, again, 70 million rows to 1,600 rows. I've filtered down. I take a look at what that looks like. Now I'm just viewing Watertown precipitation. I come back to my visualization and I see how that has changed, right? And so I'm able to do some of the filtering, some of the data manipulation. I can do that in here on the fly and see how that's going to change my visualization, or how the data changes, right? Again, this is hand in hand again with that data exploration concept. And very quickly from here, I can save the view, right? Or I can do a save as. If I do a save as, I'm saving not only the card, but I'm also saving the new dataset view as well. And it'll put the new card on top of that dataset view. A couple of caveats or things to know about Dataset Views. The first is that due to some of the optimization that we've done for views, the first time that you run a view, or the first time that you run a view that has had a data set added to it via join or a union, will actually co-locate those views inside of our environment. And so the first time that you see that view run, that view could actually time out, and that's mostly due to, again, data moving around in the back end in our environment. But if you come back just a few minutes later, you'll often find that the view renders just fine. In fact, it renders in just a couple of seconds. But it's just good to know that the first time you run a view, sometimes it causes a little confusion where people are saying, "Oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't make a lot of sense." But just as an FYI, the first time you run a view, you might run into an issue. Secondly, is dataset views will respect PDP that is on an input dataset. And so sometimes people create a data set view and they think, Domo's filtering out rows that they shouldn't be, but it's actually because of a PDP policy that the data set view is respecting from that input data set. Third, people always ask about kind of views on views, right? So views on views tends to be a bit of a polarizing topic whenever I talk with data engineers. When we do kind of views on top of views, we actually merge the views into a single query into our data set. And so views on views are possible and actually do perform fairly well. They might be a little bit slower, but they actually are fairly performant. And I think the last caveat that I would like to mention is there is no joining a data set on top of itself when you're creating the view. And so if I come back and I'm taking a look at this in Views Explorer, right? And I want to go ahead and I want to add a join. You'll see that this is grayed out. Views don't demo input to magic, right? And so if I'm not in the dataset views in the implementation set of Domo, I can't join a dataset back onto itself, right? And that's just something that we're not allowing inside of a view. That's pretty much, what I wanted to show you today, just about dataset views. The use cases, the features, the things that we see our customers using. I will let you know that dataset views are something that we're continuing to innovate on. We're continuing to develop, and we're testing some new things, and we're hoping soon to release some updates that will increase the scale, the speed and scale, as well as the stability of dataset views. And so I think if people take a look at them, it's really going to help empower them in their day-to-day jobs.
That's great. Jace, thank you so much. Jace McLean, everybody. The best part about doing a session like this is when there aren't any questions or comments, because you did such a fantastic job, as always. So really appreciate you jumping in, Jace, and being a part of this live stream. For those that are curious, we've got an event on Thursday. It's our first community virtual meetup. We will not be having a live stream. Hear me out. We're doing this instead. Our first community virtual meetup, February 16th. Make sure you scan the QR code and register, because of that event. We will not be streaming a Lunch and Learn on this coming Thursday. I know everybody's sad, but instead, you should actually go to the community virtual meetup. Check out that QR code. And if you didn't get it in time, you can always rewind or watch this on demand wherever you watch content. And in this case, we are streaming live over YouTube today. So thanks again, Jace. Really appreciate you. This was a great session. If you have any questions or any thoughts, please bring them to me or to Jace as well. A lot of folks can reach out to him directly, but you're more than happy to reaching out to me on the email there, and I'll make sure it gets forwarded on to Jace, since he is the expert in all things on this topic. So thanks again, Jace. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Eddie.
All right, guys, that does it. Again, no live stream on Thursday. We have our first community virtual meetup event. Until next time, the following week, when we're back with Lunch and Learns on a regular schedule. Thanks, everybody, for joining.